Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another of our weekly Catalyst meditations. And um, welcome to another um, explanation of our of the Catalyst meditation itself. I've been going through and looking at sections of it to make sure we're all on the same page with what we're doing. We have a goal. We have a trajectory. We have intentions. And I want to honor those by making sure that we're all on the same intention. The Catalyst meditation is very different, well, subtly but profoundly different from a regular meditation that you engage in because you want to expand your consciousness, you want to um, change your focus, you want to explore your being. All those things are great, but this is something that we are doing together. And by we, I mean those who are um, uh, interested in the course of our lives and interested in the course of our um, where our planet is going. And in that light, we're going to make a spotlight here. And I want to we talked about what we mean by all beings, and bringing all beings into the meditation. We talked about the energies that all of us bring, all trillions and trillions and trillions of beings, and bring to the meditation. How do we blend those energies? And now we're going to talk about setting some declarations. Because once we have all beings in the room, once we have all beings that in focus, we then have another issue. What are we going to do with that energy? Right now, humanity, just as one species on the trillions of species that are on this planet, we don't have a direction. We don't have a focus. We don't know what we're trying to do. Some of us know what we want to do, but we believe we can't do it. Some of us believe we can do it, but have no idea what we should do. Many of us have individualized and selfish goals, that our goals are I want to make more money, or I want to avoid some bad thing happening, or um, our goals are at that level, at the level of the personality, at the level of 3D reality. What's happening on the planet right now? What's happening in my neighborhood right now? What's happening in my own heart right now? Um, and so our goal is to elevate ourselves past those threshold intentions. Do we intend to live a different life? Do we intend to live a different life for all beings? Do we even believe that this is possible? I wear this button just about every day I remember. And I'm saying to the world that we are creating a world that works for all living beings. And I see people look at the button, realize there's something they've never seen before. They kind of crinkle up around it, and they think that then they will say to me, wow, that's kind of a good idea, and the seed has now been planted in one more human being. And as we reinforce that seed, as we reinforce our intentions in the world, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Um, so creating a world that works for all has now become a meme, which means that people say it and they say it because other people are saying it. And many of them have no idea what they mean by it, which is why we have to be focused and clear what we mean by it. You know, when I put the button on, what does all beings mean? What does uh, creating a world mean? That we don't have any idea or any focus or any understanding of how we create the world. So what I did in setting the declarations and repeating the declarations for those of us who are doing the daily um, catalyst meditation, we repeat it so that it seeps into our bones, and we keep asking ourselves the question: do we believe that? Um, when I say all human beings, does that include people I am politically opposed to? Yeah. Does that mean people who act different from me? Yeah. Does that include people who look different from me? Yeah. And it includes a lot more than human beings. I was just rereading, and I will put in the goodie box for those of you who have accessed the outline, and you get to the end of the outline, then you find the goodie box. And if you haven't, there's lots of goodies in the goodie box. Um, I'll put in the goodie box Supreme Court Justice Douglas's dissent in the case of Sierra Club versus Morton. And this was a very famous case that Justice Douglas lost. And the case was very simple. Um, uh, the Sierra Club sued Secretary of the Interior or some government official about they were going to tear down the forest to make a ski resort. And the Sierra Club sued, and the plaintiff, the defendant said, you can't sue us. You don't have standing. And standing is a very simple case. I'm not going to give I can give you a law lecture right now, but that just means you can't go to court to bring the case against us. You don't have um uh you aren't harmed by anything, so you can't bring a case against us. Um and the majority of the Supreme Court agreed with them, and Justice Douglas, in his dissent, asked us a question. And he said, do trees have standing? Are trees harmed by our actions? And therefore, do they have the right to sue? And he said they really ought to. And the majority of the Supreme Court said, no, they don't. And that was the end of that. Okay. I'm saying more than that. Okay. We are saying more than that. That yes, if we're going to be cutting down an entire forest, that forest should have the right to say, no, this isn't a good idea, on the one hand. On the other hand, um, it shouldn't just be because you are harmed that you have standing, that you have the ability to do this. It should be that all of living things should be part of the same um, governing structure. So that when we say that we declare that Mother Earth is the ultimate governing principle, that the earth herself and all of the elements of the earth, which means everything that's alive, should have the ability to influence how we govern ourselves and how we govern our reality. Um, so when we say we declare that Mother Earth or Gaia is the ultimate governing principle, we're moving outside of the realm of human beings being the ultimate governing principle and saying, yes, we can govern, but everything else should govern also. And if we are in harmony, then that can happen. We are so far out away from harmony, we can't even conceive of all human beings having the ability to govern our behavior and govern our actions. We walk around talking about, mankind or humankind as though it's an abstract concept. And when we come face to face with other human beings that don't think like us, we call them all sorts of names. We call them jerks, etc., uh, idiots, etc., and you spice it up with a whole bunch of expletives and act like they live on a different planet. What we have to do is start recognizing that we can harmonize our consciousness. I can bring my consciousness in alignment, in oneness with other beings, with other living beings, starting with the tens of trillions of beings that are inside this body right now. I came across a interesting little video on YouTube the other day. And if I can remember it, I'll dig it out of my history and I'll put that in the goodie box also. But this guy was basically saying all the cells in all your cells in your body are individual beings, and that's true. And they're all listening to you right now. They get their messages from you, and they try to comply with those messages to the extent that we can understand them. And many times we don't understand that they're really listening. So when you say, I feel sick, they give you more sick. When you say, my knees hurt, they give you more knees hurting. This is a very literal situation. They're not making judgments. They're listening to your declarations. And when you say, I really feel better now, they help you feel better. When you say, I am operating at an optimal level, then they okay, let's get to work, and you're going to work at an optimal level. So our challenge um, becomes, uh, can we recognize ourselves as a colony? Can we recognize ourselves as a colony of trillions and trillions of beings with one purpose, with one focus? And then can we take this body and look at the other body right beside me? There isn't one right now. Um, and say, okay, we form a body, another body. That's when we start looking at beyond me as a colony. And believe me, all of the beings in your body, when they come into harmony, when they come into balance, you feel great, and that greatness expands out into the universe. At least to fill your room. hopefully filling in the entire universe. And then when it encounters another body, those two bodies or three bodies or 15 bodies or nine bodies on the call as of right now, um, they expand out into the universe and they come into harmony, which is the second of our declarations. We declare that humans are colony beings. We are a colony of beings, and we operate together for the good of the whole. Um, we deepen and expand our human murmurations or our human coming together. And I use the word murmuration because I think it's a cool word, but we need to come up with our own words for what the human colony looks like. As I've been talking about this, more and more people are saying, yeah, there are times when I can feel it. I can feel, connected to and one with others. There are times when we act that way and we can see each other acting that way. Look at what human beings do in an earthquake. As soon as the earth stops shaking, and sometimes even while it's still shaking, we move into the mode of, I will help all other beings that I can help. Um, I'm going to help other beings regardless of their status. Um, no one goes through an earthquake saying, I'm only helping Republicans. Um, something calls on us, and it calls on us right here in our hearts. And we start listening to our hearts, and our hearts will tell us the right thing to do. As always, it's just that for most of us, we don't bother listening. But it doesn't take an earthquake to do that. We do that all the time unless we are so disturbed that we bring our disturbance into the field of how we interact with others. Um, Another part of this declaration that we make, that we will be making in a few minutes, actually, another part of the declaration is that we're creating a new political and economic system. Now, people ask me, why am I not active regarding the current political situation that we're in? And my answer is, I'm very active. I'm active in a way that's actually going to resolve our conflicts as opposed to um, pick one side or another in a conflict where neither side has a view on what we should be doing. um, there are lots and lots of folks out there saying we need a new political system. Lots and lots of folks out there saying we need a new economic system. Most of them, as soon as those words come out of their mouths, they go right back to the old system. Oh, we need to reform capitalism. We need to reform socialism. We need to um, limit the number of electors in the electoral college. We need to get rid of the electoral college. And all that stuff is at the problems level. The question is, in this deep cataclysm that we're about to undergo, what is the nature of the system that we are intending? What is it that's calling right here at our hearts that many of us don't believe is possible, or we're afraid to voice what this possibility is? We shy away from it because It's so big. So the what I am articulating, and y'all can, I mean, okay, this is my articulation. I put down 5 or 6 points. You may have 3 or 4 your own points. If you've got access to the outline, you can put them in there. I'll take a look. We'll take a look. If you don't have access, send me an email. So these are the points that I think are important. I think it's important to create an political and economic system that all beings can participate in. So we don't have a question as to whether this being has standing or not, or whether this being is a citizen or not. That all beings, if they're on Mother Earth, we're part of the same family. That we're creating a political and economic system that all beings are in relationship with. This is a relational situation. It's not, oh, that's the opposition. We can ignore them. It's that, no, all of us need to be considered. That all beings own it. And right now we know who owns our economic system. It ain't you. And I can say that through just about 8.9 billion human beings that are impacted by the system but don't own it in any way, shape, or form. That all beings benefit from the system that we are creating. And how many people don't benefit from it? How many people even think they benefit from it and actually in reality they don't? How many people actually vote against their own best interests because somebody told them something that said, you should think about things this way? All beings govern it. So by moving in a particular direction, by holding a particular point of view, we are all part of the governing structure for the political and economic system of Gaia. And we all do all of these things for the common good, not just for Sharif. Although that maybe that wouldn't be too bad. It's all of you just do everything that I want you to do. Um, okay, and that's for those of you who don't know me, and there are folks on the line who don't know me. That's called a joke. I don't think that a system of just me would be a really good idea. That we are creating a system. We are co-creating a system that all benefit from. Now, if you believe that that's not possible, if you believe that that's not a goal, then I'm inviting you when we go into the meditation to hold the energy, hold the concept, hold the possibility that all of us can do this and can act in a way that is working for all. I'll tell you a real quick story, and then it's time for us to switch gears into our catalyst meditation. Lived in a section of town where I wound up living in a really big house that everybody knew my house. It was the big white house. And in front of the big white house, there was this huge cedar tree. And that cedar tree was fairly famous. Um, if you looked on a Landsat photo, um, you could see different kinds of vegetation was colored in different ways. And this particular tree had a a signature. So you can see that there was one um, element of the Landsat map that had the cedar tree. And the next owner of the house cut down the tree. Now, this tree had been there for 100 years. It was an anchor to the whole neighborhood. There were beings, many beings living in this tree, raccoons, possums, etc. Um, but the owner cut the tree down because they could do so. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of having a declaration of working for the common good, not just for the good of one being. Okay, so we got people coming in for the catalyst meditation. As I say before, this was a monologue, not a dialogue. The dialogue happens in half an hour when we get done with our catalyst meditation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this version of our catalyst meditation. We are welcoming those who have joined us today, welcoming those who've got one person who is on the outline, um, and welcome to those who have been with us in the past but can't be with us today. Your energy is still welcome. And we are going to do the first part of our catalyst meditation, which is centering ourselves. Um, and centering ourselves by sharing our breath. We'll spend 3 minutes in equalizing our breath. And this is going to be done with a breathing app. And I'll make sure our audio can pick it up. So if we can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, if we can continue with our silent centering for a couple more minutes. And if we can come back to our common center, we will continue with our catalyst meditation, with our intentions, as the imaginal cells within the chrysalis come together to form the butterfly out of the disintegrated caterpillar cells. We come together to form a gateway for the meta-consciousness of the mind of Gaia. We act for ourselves personally, and we act as aspects of Gaia, of Mother Earth. Holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Every atom in the universe holds consciousness. It is always with us. We're acknowledging that now because many humans have forgotten and many humans have been in denial. We act to reawaken our connection to Gaia for the benefit of all living beings. And we acknowledge our connection to all beings. We acknowledge our connection to all human beings, including those who have gone before and those who are to come. We acknowledge all beings who thrive on and in the air. We acknowledge all beings who thrive on and in the water. All beings who thrive on and in the earth. All beings who thrive on and in our bodies. All beings that thrive on light, the beings of the plant realms. All meta beings, including the earth as a living meta being, air as a living meta being, fire as a living meta being, water as a living meta being, all colony beings being meta beings that are collections of solo beings, and that includes murmurations, colonies, schools, hives, pods, flocks, herds, migrations, swarms, and other meta beings, and all other forms of consciousness, known and unknown to us. We now want to blend these energies, the energies of all living beings. May all who are part of Gaia, of Mother Earth, be connected to, and in perfect health, harmony, and balance with each other and with Gaia for the common good. We are in perfect physical health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect emotional health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect relational health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect mental health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spiritual health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect holonic health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spatial and temporal health, harmony, and balance. We are in the perfect place, at the perfect time, in the perfect conditions, and with the perfect beings. And now we set our declarations. We declare that Gaia, Mother Earth, is the ultimate governing principle, the way that humans govern their behavior on this planet, replacing all other forms of human governance. This is the way our behavior aligns with the will of the Earth. We declare that humans are colony beings. We deepen and expand our human murmurations. We declare that Gaia, Mother Earth, is providing all necessary resources to achieve the vision of a world that works for all living beings. We declare that we are creating a political and economic system where all beings participate in it, all beings are in relationship with it, all beings own it, all beings benefit from it, and all beings govern it for the common good. We now meditate within this holonic energy, within the energy of Mother Earth. We're listening for any messages that we may receive. We're making any personal requests we may have. And we're deepening and expanding our human experience of our human murmurations. And we'll be doing this for about 10 minutes, starting now. And if we can come back to our mutual common center, we will conclude our catalyst meditation for this week with our inclusivity mantra. You can repeat with me, or you can repeat silently as you wish. May I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. And may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. And may all beings be happy. And so it is, and so it shall be. And thank you for joining us with another of our Catalyst meditations. I recognize that some of you will have to go in the next few minutes or so. And I'm thankful that you were with us for as long as you are, and look forward to you being back again. We're going to just have a informal conversation about what is happening for you, what is true for you, what you would like to discuss. A couple of things came up while one of the things that happens in the meditation, um, many times, on a good day of meditation, you sink down into it and you get surprised when 10 minutes is gone. And then other times, and again, this is the catalyst part of the catalyst meditation, you get a thought, and that thought may be um, something that is pertinent to you personally. It may be something that's pertinent to you um, uh, that has greater meaning than you personally, which is something that you're getting that you may need to or want to, or you may have been given it in order to share. Back when I was more ego bound than I am right now, I'm working on it. um, I thought that if an idea came to me, I was the one who needed to say it. And what I found is that a lot of times when um, an idea came to me, the same idea came to a lot of other people in the room. And I didn't need to be the one that went blah, blah, blah and said it. Someone else could say it, sometimes saying it more eloquently than I could. And so we want to be open to that happening. The way we do that is on the informal part here. You can do a number of things to get our attention. Number one, if you want to say something, you can raise your digital hand. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, if you move your cursor around on your Zoom screen, um, you will see a heart that says react, and you will have a number of things that you can do to get that reaction going. Um, and Liana's waving to us, which means some of us have to go to work. And But if you at the bottom of that screen that says react, you see raise hand, and you can raise your digital hand, and you can um, get recognized that way. The other way is you can turn on your camera and oh, and y'all are just getting cute and clever here with regard to the possibilities. We can tell Greg is thinking about pizzas because that's most of the pizza slices flying through the air there. Um, um, but you can turn your camera on and wave your digital hand around, and I'll see that. Um, or you can just turn your microphone on, and I can see when your microphone goes hot, I can see it, and I will respond to that. Um, and I'm not seeing any of the microphones going hot now. And I saw that someone left the room that I didn't want to leave the room because I'm about to talk about her. Um, and that's not going to stop me from talking about her. Um, Janie Nyquist, who was just on the Catalyst meditation with us, um, at one point in time was the director of the City of Portland's Bureau of Maintenance. And we did lots and lots of work together around the Bureau of Maintenance. I'm saying this because this is one of the things that came up for me during the meditation. I turned my audio off because I've got construction around me and there are construction trucks and jackhammers, etc., that are changing the sidewalk, making the sidewalks more accessible. And they're doing that by making the sidewalks less accessible. So there are all these barriers, and the streets are being closed, and some of the sidewalks are now being closed to try to make them um, more accessible. And when I say more accessible, they were accessible before. The city did this, maybe 7 years or so ago, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars making the curb cuts so that people in wheelchairs will have an easy time to get across the street, etc. So all that's been done. So we're going to do it all again. We're going to do it all different. So they're going to be more accessible than they were before. But the question is that the highest and best use of our time, our treasure, our efforts, etc.? As someone pointed out to me yesterday, didn't have to point it out to me. One of the people just looking at this said, um, if you look at the condition of the streets are filled with potholes. I mean, you can lose your car in one of these potholes, but we're fixing a part of the street that doesn't need fixing. Why are we doing that? And because I've been involved in doing consulting with government, I can tell them exactly why we do it. Somebody somewhere, either in Salem or Washington, D.C., said, we need to improve our street corners for more better accessibility. And we don't care if you did that already. We want you to do it again. And here's a few gazillion dollars for you to do that. So then you do it, not because it's the smartest thing to do, but it's because it's the thing you got funding to do. No funding for potholes, lots of funding for improving what doesn't need improving. And so how will that change when we change our governing structure? When we go in alignment with our declarations and go in alignment with our that all beings have something to say about all of this, and how do we come into harmony with how that happens? Um, and I had wanted um, Jeannie, from her perspective of trying to bring sanity into bureaucracy, a losing proposition. That's not true. We had some significant wins. Um, so I am throwing that out as a concept, and I see that Greg is unmuted here, and welcoming him to um, say his piece.
Um, okay, good morning, everybody. I know most of you don't live in Portland, but I just had a cascade of reactions to that. The first thing I thought is that Portland has a brand new government. So the government that ordered the work that's happening right now is not the government that um, is in power today. Yesterday, our city council noted that there are over 200 miles of roads, streets in Portland without sidewalks. And they estimate that it's going to cost $200 million to install all those sidewalks. And I live on a road with no pavement, so I wonder if they'll just install sidewalks and no pavement.
Yes. Yes, indeed. We already know that one.
But more importantly, many of these streets were left in unpaved in part because there are large trees that would have to be cut down, trees hundreds of years old that would have to be cut down to make way for sidewalks. Um, but anyway, that is just a little matter. The thing that I really wanted to speak to you about today is the fact that Sharif and I have been working together for something like a decade and a half. And I think there are people on this meditation group that have been working even longer, and some who are pretty brand new. And I want to push the idea that Sharif has been on an evolutionary journey in terms of thought for a long time. And I think it's time that we brought everybody in on the whole evolution that begins before creating a world that works for all and leads right up to today's experiment in awakening holonic consciousness. And I hope that's what we do next.
Um, Me too. The challenge, of course, being it's interesting you said that because we haven't talked about that, but that's been high on my mind for the past couple of weeks. I'm organizing a series, um, a workshop video um, series that I want to start either end of May or beginning of June, and start looking at exactly that. We we have been saying, me and a bunch of other folks have been saying that things are accelerating right now. We have been saying that um, um, the Earth is about to go through some cataclysmic events. One of the things I do in the morning is I check a number of news sources, and one of the news sources I check is, I think, a very important one. It's called spaceweather.com. Um, and I look at, you know, what sunspots are we facing, what planets are about to crash into us, just and stuff that's up there. Okay. And there is an amazingly big um, sunspot that's facing us right now. I mean, it's facing like literally us. And if that sunspot erupted right now, we would know it 8 minutes from now. And it could fry all of our electronics. I mean, everything. If it's on, it can fry it. Now, we don't talk about that. We talk about, who was wearing what at the Met Gala the other day. We talk about whether India and Pakistan will go into a nuclear war over Kashmir when none of us even, well, I've been there, but most people have no idea where India or Pakistan or Kashmir is. Um, and so my question has been, what out of the body of material that Commonway has, which is pretty darn big. I forget how big it is. Um, there are like 300 videos, all of them um, bringing us to an understanding of some part of our world. And a different way of looking at most of that world. And of those 300, which ones do we need to know between now and, according to my friend and colleague Ilarion McCurliffe, over the next 2 or 3 years, when Mother Earth adjusts, it's just an adjustment, but that adjustment to, from our perspective, is could parts of our world could come to an end. Parts of our world could come to a beginning, a new way of doing things. Um, are we going to be flexible enough to think about that? Or are we going to continue to do what we normally do, is say, oh yeah, yeah, Sharice got a new workshop. Yeah, I'll wait for the next one. I'll wait for the next one. Um, I'm not going to be concerned about this one. I know I'm looking at the list of people who are on this call right now, and I know um, I'm preaching to the choir. Okay, y'all are the ones that show up. The Commonway has a database with 5,000 names in it, and there are not 5,000 people on this call. Okay, so I think, Greg, what you're saying is, how do we get the people who are active more active, but also how do we get the people who have been saying, I'm with you, 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 to say, okay, now we need to be doing something. Um, and that's quite a challenge. Um, I am looking at no, doing something also includes um, doing something right now, turning your microphone on or waving your hand around or responding in some way about what it is that you want to see, what is it that you have difficulty getting, I want to say, your teeth sunk into, but that might be a little more carnivorous than we need to be right now. Um, um, where is your flex point here? There's a Commonway has a supporter, and this person has been on our calls before. and he is a financial supporter. So he puts in a few $100 a year supporting Commonway. And he says, I don't, he says, I know you're right, but I'm not ready to actually act on this. This is something that James Lovelock, who had the Gaia hypothesis, he said, um, not acting now is like the person who is smoking cigarettes and says they're going to stop as soon as they start seeing some damage done. By the time you see the damage done, it's too late. And so we need to be activer. We don't have a session unless I can create a new word. So we need to be activer, more active than we are comfortable with right now. So all of this is stepping outside of a comfort zone into a life zone. And I'm seeing, I guess we're done for the day, except for Angie. And we're going to hear from Angie, and then we may be done. So, what's new in your world?
Well, my thought on that is I would find it helpful if there were some way to communicate suggestions for like service opportunities, what are ways that we could help. I mean, just other than the occasional financial donation, which I'm sure is always helpful, but you know what what are ways that you could use, what kind of help could you use, you
Mhm.
know um, what are ways we could help have more of an impact on our local community, um, what are ways we could help people prepare on a personal level more thoroughly for the possibility of you know problematic occurrences like the grid goes down for weeks at a time, things like that. What kind of like emergency preparedness would be, how could we help people with that? Because I think a lot of people would like to be more prepared and have no idea really how to approach it, what to do, et cetera, et cetera. So um, if there was some way, newsletter, I'm not sure what the format would be, but I think if there was some way to access to see, like, well, what are things that we could, like some options, you want to be helpful? Okay, great. Well, pick something from a list of 3, 4, 5 things that would be helpful to the organization and would be helpful to moving us forward, So, like I don't necessarily personally want to do a presentation, maybe never. I don't know. Public speaking isn't my gig, but I would be happy to be helpful in other ways, So, and what might those ways be? So, and I think people with different, talents and strengths could contribute in lots of ways, and maybe not necessarily take a lot of time or a lot of travel to do that. So I think some thoughts along those lines might help engage people more. So
Um, Number one, yes. Okay, that was real easy. Number two, I see that happening, but I see that happening as people are coming together. It's one thing for me to be um, um, saying we should do this, we should do that, we should do the other. It's more impactful when we come together and say, what should we be doing? Now, one of the things that I find happening, though, is that unless people have a grounding in, I hate calling it the common way philosophy, but that's what it is. It's a way of looking at the world. Uh, Creating a world that works for all is a way of seeing how we are interacting with each other. And and is really important. If you don't have that, you fall back to the very standard ways of looking at things from a leftist perspective or from a rightist perspective. Neither of the left nor the right have an answer for our issues. We have to come up with a whole new set of answers. I when we come together from the point of view of our declarations that we're creating a world that works for all living beings, then we can come up with something new. You say one more thing about that, and then I want to recognize what Amma said in the chat, and then I want to recognize that Mark's mic just went hot. I'm going to be doing a discussion next week, or 2 weeks from now, with a group that started out of what was it called for the transition towns, and transition towns was basically started in England. And how do you get people prepared for an emergency? Can y'all hear all the construction stuff behind me? I hope you can't hear it. You're okay? Okay. Then I'll try not to hear it. It's pretty loud. So that people will start off with 48 hours. How do you know, if all services stopped in 48 hours, for 48 hours, would you be okay? Do you have 48 hours worth of batteries for your flashlights, etc.? Do you have 48 hours worth of water stored in your house? Do you have 48 hours of, do you know your neighbors well enough to be able to support each other for 48 hours? Then they realize 48 hours is not nearly enough. And then it turns to 84 hours. Are you able to do this for almost a week? And then a week isn't nearly enough. And they start realizing we need a whole other way of looking at our society. And that's just getting close to the kind of thing that we need to be looking at. Um, the so the challenge that we've got is um, how do we plan for what can't be pre that can't be predicted on spreadsheets. And I want to the chat's filling up. Amma said, I would like to step up and participate in a daily meditation. Do you have that recorded somewhere? You're more than welcome to come in on the Catalyst meditation that we do every day at 7:30. And if you've downloaded the outline, then it's on the beginning of your outline. You've got the link to it. If you haven't done that, I'm putting it in your chat box right now. I thought I was putting it in your chat box right now. This is the link that gets you to the daily meditation. You come on and you'll see some of the faces that you see right now, and you see some of the faces that you don't see right now. And we do that every day. I'm sorry, except for Sundays. Greg has a comment here, but I want to get to Mark because he's been waiting patiently, and I don't want him starting to throw things at me or anybody else, actually. Mark, why don't you say what you're going to say, and then we'll get to Greg comment and everybody else.
Okay. I'm on my phone, so I can't see who's on the call, but we've got the group going in Grand Rapids, and we've had these conversations, and it's a group that is very sincere about wanting this to happen, a world that works for all. And people were very open and honest about what felt like it was holding them back. And, we were describing all the things like, well, there's so many things that you have to do just to survive and get along, now that all the attention goes to those things. But what came up was fear, the fear of uncertainty. We see the vision, we're in alignment with the vision, not only in our minds, but in our hearts. We feel what that can be. And yet the fear is what I'm leaving is known. What I would be moving toward is unknown. And that fear is that is there something that we're going toward that's real, but is there a way for us to get there? And, some of the conversation was going around the idea of, it seems like we're being called to our Exodus story, or the hero's journey, or whatever those mythologies have been informing us for years, that you have to totally leave this to get over here. So we're talking about how do we move through fear, and we're also talking about let's not even talk and go cerebral sometimes. When we come together, let's do some human murmuration with each other in some form. So we're actually trying to have an experiential, firsthand experience of what human murmuration can be between us. And, people feel the potential of this. We're just trying to kind of step into it in a way that, the other thing too is I think when we go on those individual consciousness journeys, what we're trying to do is really find our way out of our fears. That's my sense. That's been my own personal experience. Not that I've walked through all my fears, but it's like what I realized the personal journey is to come out of those fears and move towards something that is life-giving and generative. So I'll leave it there.
Very well said. We have people who try to motivate us to act, but they're motivating us with fear and anger. They want us to be both angry and afraid. And that gets you somewhere. I mean, if you're looking at a map and you say, okay, if you use this vehicle and you do this particular thing, you can wind up somewhere. But where you want to wind up is not where you want to be. You don't want to be there. Moving through the fear, moving past the fear, that I'm not afraid, that I'm looking at this from the point of view of vision. The forebearers of our society, the founders of our society, could have been motivated by fear of King George, and that was a very, very real fear. You don't challenge kings without winning, because they do things to you. So that's a very real fear on the one hand. On the other hand, to be motivated by these higher order concepts. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. It's like, whoa, what's that got to do with King George? And the answer is not much. And having that great vision that we've never been able to capture. It's always been, we'll get there down the road. Okay. So finding our way through and past the fear, and finding our way into the vision, and then using something temporary, something very local, as Greg talked about in his chat, of the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. For those of you who are not in the Pacific Northwest, and when this goes out to all the people who will be seeing it whenever I get it done, I'm at the mercy of the speed of my internet here. But when I'm there's a lot of people who will not know what a Cascadia subduction zone is, but it's supposed to be our big one. He said in the chat, the big one is predicted to leave us without government assistance for up to 2 weeks. That's if nothing else is happening. And what else could be happening is everything else. Yeah, the subduction zone could be triggered by, or could trigger, the solar flare. The solar flares could trigger the coronal mass ejection. Coronal mass ejection could trigger people who are waiting for the opportunity for government to turn its head to go and do some things that are not very good for any of us. So the bottom line is yeah, lots and lots of stuff could be happening, and we have to be. Larry Dossey, who wrote a whole bunch of books on consciousness, said we have to have a high boggle threshold. What has to happen before your mind just shuts down? I can't handle this. Okay. And I'm thinking back to there were two police officers in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina came through, who committed suicide because the magnitude of the challenge that they had when nothing worked. You think of anything like you pick up the telephone and you call your boss and you say, what should I do? Well, that phone doesn't work. The boss isn't there. There's nothing that's working the way you expect it to work. And that is predictable, and therefore we are going to do something different. We're going to, like, okay, what's the next step here? Say one more thing, and then I'm looking to, Greg has his, Greg is up next. Someone asked Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin if they had emergency plans for ending their lives if they were on the moon and couldn't get the return rocket started, and they only had 1 hour left, and how would they compose themselves, knowing that they're facing their end? And Buzz Aldrin said, if we had 1 hour left, we'd be working to get the motor started. It's like you work the problem, you know. You don't say, oh, this is so hard, let me go and kill myself. And I guess I should say, we will be doing that. Humanity will be doing that by the millions. We have to be ready for that. We have to be demonstrating that we are unflappable, that we have the high boggle threshold, that this is not going to be something that is going to defeat us. That all of this is predictable in what happens next, and we will be as ready as our hearts can be in all of these situations, and we will be getting the strength from directions that we can't even begin to understand right now, and I'm looking forward to that part. So, Greg, you are up.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't think what goes in the chat is captured in the recordings, right?
I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know. No,
I
let's just
believe they aren't. But anyway, I just wanted to say very simply that the most interesting feature to me of the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake is that landfill tends to liquefy in an earthquake. So downtown Portland is mainly built on landfill. So a lot of buildings will fall down downtown, but not necessarily other places. And the other thing is that all the gasoline and diesel fuel and propane for Oregon is stored in tanks along the banks of the Columbia River, mostly built on landfill. So there will be potentially some very large fires and explosions in a city with no water to put out the fires. So that's something that I can't prepare for. So I'm preparing for the fact that the wind could be blowing in another direction. You know, there could be no wind. The tanks may not explode. Um, and most of us will just be fine.
um um all that you just said are possibilities. Some of those possibilities, I mean, a lot of these are, if you saw the movie The Lord of the Rings, in one of the big last battles, when they were um, uh, they looked like they were winning, and the guys on the elephants came in, and the king, what's his name, looks and says, holy, I mean, the look on his face is like, elephants, what do we do with elephants? You know, and then it's like, well, rally and we'll do whatever we can with elephants. Um, so um, this happened during the Sri Lanka uh, tsunami back in 2008, I think that was, um, island gets devastated by the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. Um, one of the things that happened was that right before the tsunami hit, right, and there was zero tsunami preparedness in on the island. I know it. People had no idea what a tsunami was and what it could do. Um, when the first thing that happens is the wave goes out, goes away. So like there's a whole bunch of the ocean just disappears, and there's fish flopping on the land, and people are just walking out onto the former ocean floor, picking up fish, like, hey, free fish. Um, and then the wave comes back in and is 100 feet higher than when it left. And but the wave did not do that equally. There were some parts of the coast where there was no wave activity at all. And then there are other parts that had 100-foot wave that went inland of like a mile. Um, and they said that there were stupas, the round half dome thing with a little point on top, um, that were on the coast. And the places where there were stupas, wave didn't come, did not bother the the stupa at all. Um, was that um, what was the force that stopped the wave? Water as a meta being. The water stopped itself. When the wave was about to hit, again, the wave had gone out. The elephants, people in Sri Lanka use elephants like you use bulldozers. And the people who are riding the elephants or steering the elephants are called mahouts. And um, the elephants all of a sudden snapped their chains and started running up the hill. And everybody's like, where are they going? They had no idea there was a wave coming, but they said, maybe we should go with them. So people started running after the elephants who were running up the hill. And as they were running, the elephants were picking people up and putting them on their backs. So the elephants are run, 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 pick up somebody and put them on their back. Pick up somebody else, put them on their back. And they would run to a particular point and then stop. And then, people were like, why did they run and why did they stop? They're looking around, and then the wave comes. And the wave comes all the way up to where the elephant stopped. Now, you can't predict that. You can't plan for that. You have to be paying attention as you go along. How many of us would be trying to stop the elephants from going up the hill because I want that elephant to help me move that tree right there? So it's us being a part of the living fabric of all of the life that's around us, including that wave as part of that life. And the only thing that we can do is to respond in real time, respond uh, in an appropriate way, to respond in a way that says we don't have all the answers, or we do have all the answers, but that answer is going to come from over there. These elephants are going to show us the way, you know. Um, and we can do that. We will do that. We should do that. That'd be a good thing to do. And we can practice that. We can practice saying, okay, what do I need to know from my elders, the whales, the dolphins, etc. Um, we know, and actually, Rupert Sheldrake has been studying how do these beings know? What do they know? Once we stop limiting them in our own minds, how can they help us to do whatever we need to do? There are signs that, dogs that know that there are earthquakes coming 9 hours beforehand. So everybody's looking down at the little scribbles on the seismographs and trying to read this, and the dog is saying, "Hey, over here, get the hell out of the building! It's about to fall apart." How can we rely on that? That's going to be a challenge for us. It's going to be a big challenge for some of us. But we will. And even more importantly, we're the ones that are going to be left. And we're the ones that will be forming the next human civilization. And we will be doing that from the depth of our connection to all living beings. And we will do what we need to do. I will do what I need to do, which means that in the next few days, you should get some notice about having a not just a workshop for either late May, early June, but to have a workshop series that may take us all the way through December, and have one piece of this relate to the other piece of this that relates to the other piece of this. Um, so we will see how that goes. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, opinions? It's late. Um, um, y'all did not hold me to my 4-minute response time, so we're going to do a better job of that next time. Um, this reminds me of back in the early days of Sesame Street, when the Count, who liked to count, had hired Ernie to answer his telephone. And so the phone starts ringing, and the Count's 1 ring, 2 rings, and the Count is like tackling Ernie to make sure that he can't answer the phone, so that he's counting all these rings. So he gets up to 7 rings or so, and the person hangs up. And then he says to Ernie, "Why didn't you answer the phone?" He said, "You stopped me from this. Your job is to answer." And the phone starts ringing again, and he stops him again. So yeah, I got a 4-minute rule, except when I don't. Okay. So let's like I said, I'll put the stuff that I just promised into the goodie box, including the Do Trees Have Standing, Descent of Justice Douglas, which we should read. And I look forward to us hanging out again in in a few in 1 week. I'll get this posted as soon as I can, but as slow as my internet has been, it may be till tomorrow before it gets actually uploaded and done. It may be this afternoon, maybe by before 7 o'clock. We will see. Okay, let me go. Let us go. I will talk with all of us at another point in time. See you on the other side of our week here. Talk to you later. Bye.